I'd like to get through quite a bit. I don't know how much we'll get
Okay.
to, which is kind of why I put YouTube next to the basics, because anything that we don't get to on the basics, you can go to YouTube and find anything. All the videos are there on YouTube. So, welcome, thank you guys for joining me. My name is Paige Brooks Jeffers, for those of you who haven't put the face with the name yet, so that's me. You get some emails from me, not as many as used to. I used to do training for Blackboard and distance learning initiatives, and I've now come out of the distance learning department, for those of you who don't know, and I'm now in the professional development department at the system. So kind of doing a little, still kind of the same thing, but on a bigger scale, so outside of distance learning. But I was asked today to come in and do Collaborate for meetings. And it's not that much different than what we Collaborate for your class, if you want to use your class. It's actually the same thing. But what I do for meetings is a little easier, so that any of the folks that you're meeting with, they don't have to be in your Blackboard courses, because that would kind of defeat the purpose if they had to be in there. We want to be able to use this at any time. So I'm kind of going to show you that way. If those of you, if there's some of you guys in the class that want to use it in the classroom, let me know, and I'll kind of say, this is where you would change that. And actually, we would just launch the room. We wouldn't create the tiny URL. Does somebody use tiny URL before? Do you know what it is?
I use them, but I don't know how to create one. I had copy pasted, but
We'll see how to create one. Tiny URL just gives you it lets you take a long URL web address that you can't remember and put a name on it that you can remember. So that's why I like using it, because then you can remember what it is just when you want to send that out to people. Hey there, no, come on in. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to have you guys do, if you don't have one, is to create a community that you would want to kind of use. Mine is called Paige's Conference Room. Or I also have Paige's Sandbox and Paige's Playground. So kind of whatever you would want to call that. And that's the room that I generally send out to everyone. So from Blackboard, and did everyone get logged into Blackboard? I'm sure you're not there yet, but
I'll get there.
on your way.
Thank you.
That's automatically you said, hey. But from Blackboard, we land on the courses page where all of your courses are. At the top there, we're going to go to that next little tab, which is called e-community. And did you guys know that you all could create your own e-communities? You have access to create your own e-communities, which then you can then control the enrollment of. So if you wanted to create one for a study group, but kind of for all of your classes across the board, or if you're in, maybe you're on a committee and you guys wanted a Blackboard space for your committee to put all your files and notes and things like that, you could do that here. So that would allow you to do that. But when you guys get to the community page, you should have an option here to click to create an organization. So we're going to run through that. It's not going to take us any time at all. So we're just going to click on that. And it's going to ask you to fill out this form. And it wants to know the organization name and ID. You're going to make those up. Doesn't really matter what they are, they just can't be the same as anything we've ever had before.
So the name that will be seen, no, like you do.
The organization name is what will be seen, but the way that we're doing it, nobody's really gonna see it until they get into the room, and even when it shows up there, they may or may not notice it because it's way up on the status bar up here.
Can it be changed once it's been created?
The organization name can be, the ID cannot.
Okay.
So the organization name, I'm just going to put whatever, Pages, meetings, whatever you want to put. And then the organization, like I said, the organization is the one that can't have special characters, no spaces, and can't be the same as anything else. So you can make something up. So maybe you want to put JCTC and then your name, or JCTC and then maybe whatever you call the organization, or JCTC Fall 14 meetings, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It just can't have spaces, can't have special characters in it. So if I do, you can use your hyphens and underscores, just no @ signs, pound signs, and signs, any of those.
So why does that need to be different?
Are you familiar with like access, any of those, like primary keys and access? it's an identifier that Blackboard has on the back end.
Okay.
So no course can have the same ID. That's why every semester you get a new course.
Yeah.
And they do that, the way that they can do that, because some of the parts are the same in your course, but the semester code is different. So that's what makes it different. So you have to have something different on there for every one of these. So none of you all can put JCTC page meeting unless you click submit before me. If you click submit before me, then I couldn't do it. Does that make sense? And you'll never ever really need to use it, so it's kind of behind the scenes, but it's just one of those things that we create. We don't have to do anything else here. Because as you see, it says guests permitted, no. So you would have to change that if you wanted guests to come in, or you could do things like,
Mine just says no, it doesn't give you the option.
oh, mine may be in there because of my access to the system. But if you roll it down, you've got enrollment options. Do you guys see that one?
Yes.
Yes, 8.
So in that one, what you can do is you can put an access code on it. It's kind of like a password. If you want to, and that way, what folks can do is you can have your students, your other colleagues come and search and find your organization, and then they can put that code in to have access to your organization if you wanted to. We're not going to do any of that. We're kind of just leaving this as our space to go in and play and have our meetings and use the Collaborate link. That's kind of all we're using this for, is to get our Collaborate link. But you could do that. You don't have to. If you leave it nothing in there, and you have it to where guests can get in and people can search it and come right into it. So it kind of depends on what you want to do with it. Like I said, we're not really doing either of those things.
But if we don't have the option to allow guests, this will still be a link that we could send to students that they could pop in the room.
Well, they would go to the community area, they would search for your community that you created, and when they go to enroll in it, it would ask for their access code. And then that's when they would put that in, and then those would show up on their community. But don't get too bogged down in that, because we're not doing any of that. That would be a whole different session on communities, okay? We're just creating the community to be able to get the link for our Collaborate meetings. And that's all that we're doing on that. So we're just gonna leave everything as is, although I am gonna change my menu style to text because buttons make me crazy, and that's just my personal thing. And then I don't like that green color, so I go in and choose one of the blues. Other than that, everything is good, and just hit submit. And if you're okay with buttons, you can just leave those right there as well. So once you hit submit, it's going to create that community, and it's going to take you into what looks like a Blackboard course. Does that work for everybody?
I got an error. I got user information error. Can I not have hyphens?
Nope.
No, I said I could.
Oh, no, you can have
You have
hyphens.
spaces.
I'm gonna, if it, let's scroll down, let me see it. I wonder if somebody else used that code as well. Just anything there. No space, can't have spaces. There we go.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yeah, so somebody else had that
Yeah.
same code. Okay, so from here, like I said, we're really not going to use this as Blackboard itself, but a community, as you can see, looks just like a course. There's really no differences in it. Now, for myself, I might go in, since I'm going to use this, and I might be able to need to get to my community, I might put the link for Collaborate right here just so I can get to it really easily. So to do that, do you guys see your plus button that's up there on the left-hand side? So go ahead and click your plus button, and then go down to Tool Link, fourth one down, Tool Link. Then I'm just going to give it a name, I'll call it Collaborate. And under the type, the drop-down list, it's going to be Blackboard Collaborate Scheduling Manager. The Scheduling Manager is where you can schedule all of your sessions. And then I am going to put the check to make it available to users, even though I'm the only user that's going to be in here. And submit. And when I do that, it shows up on the bottom of my list, just for ease of access, I'm just gonna drag that up to kind of make kind of the second there on the list under my home page so I can get to it easier. Did that work for everybody? All right, so far so good. All right, so we've got our community check, we've got our link check. So go ahead and click on your Collaborate link, and that's gonna take you over to the Collaborate Scheduling Manager. And you should have a page that looks something like this. Not exactly, but similar. Okay? So, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have a room, a Collaborate room for this community that you just built. And every time you go into any course in Blackboard, if you add this tool, you're gonna have a button for that class, whatever that class or community is. So if you have an English 101, you'll have, and that's what that course is called, it'll say English 101. And so whatever that is called in there. You're also gonna have one with your name. And if your name ends with an S, Blackboard doesn't know those rules. Because you can see I've got an S and apostrophe S. So it doesn't know those rules, but that's okay. And then you're gonna have an option where you can schedule a session. That's what you would do if you were in a class and you wanted on a certain day and time to schedule a meeting like you would in Outlook. Does that make sense? I want to schedule a meeting on this day and this time. Is where I can do that. This one here, the one with your name on it, that's the one that follows you everywhere. So technically you could have done this with that, but I tend to keep them separate just so I can keep kind of track of what I'm doing and I know where I'm going. Because you're going to have this room follows you. Every course that you go into, you'll have your own room. So technically you could have used that, but I do kind of just keep them separate, keep it kind of clear in my head as to what I've got going on. So this is the one that we're going to actually work with today. And first thing I want you to do is go ahead and click on Edit Room. We're going to edit our settings. And share the first thing. So we get to, it's okay. And when you get logged in, go ahead and get to Blackboard, and then I'll get you caught up, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
So I'm going to edit my room. And there's not too much here that I have to do, but there's just a couple of things that I want to do. First of all, you can change the name of it if you want to here without changing your classroom. On your teleconference options, you don't have to change anything there. Somebody said that there's phone access, and this is where it shows you it's using the built-in phone access. Okay? So you don't have to change anything there. On the room attributes, this is where I'm going to go down, and where it says allow guests, I'm going to click that and turn that on. Why do you think I might allow guests?
These are the people who don't have to be enrolled in the community.
So when I'm using this as a meeting tool, instead of like Link or GoToMeeting or WebEx or any of those, I may have a meeting with somebody outside of KCTCS. So I want them to be able to get into it. Or even if they're in KCTCS, they're not in my course or not in my community. So I want to give them access to it without having to get them enrolled in this community and course. So that's why I would do that. So I'm going to allow guests.
So if you're using it in a classroom, well, students will get into it from.
They would get into it right from that first page that we went to.
Yeah.
They would use one of those buttons up at the top, or if you created a specific session, it would be listed underneath, and you would go to it.
So if they're going to call in, do we have to allow guests? Because now they're.
No, because when they go to, you'll see that in just, hang on just a second. Okay, so this is really the only thing that we need to change, but I do want you to notice a couple of things here. Max simultaneous talkers and max cameras is set to 3. You can go up to 6, unless they change that on. Is it still just 6?
Yeah.
They're gonna be adding more. What this means, because you might think, well, I don't want more than 3 people talking at the same time anyways, right? They're talking all over each other. But that's not what it means. It means how many mics can be turned on at the same time, and how many webcams can be turned on at the same time.
Oh.
So you can have up to 6. And I've been in meetings before where I've had the 3 set, and somebody went to chat, I can't turn my mic on. And I had to turn my mic off so that they could turn theirs on to get 3. So I have had that happen before. Did you get in there? Okay. Hang on just a second, guys. And we went and we created a community real quick.
Okay.
So we went to community, and we clicked created one. And then we named it something like ourselves meetings, something like Jerry's meetings or whatever. There you go. And then we have to give it an ID, and that would probably work for the same thing, just put no spaces in it.
Okay.
There you go. And just, you don't have to do any of that. There you go, and then just submit. That's all we need.
And so I just played around with it and.
I did do it this summer, we used to do virtual office hours for online class.
There we go. And then we did the plus sign and we added the tool link.
Well, that's why I was wondering if we went
It's
this
called
way,
Collaborate or
but
whatever.
then bypass Blackboard.
And then we used the Collaborate scheduling manager.
Yeah,
Well, that was strong.
well, yeah, because then you
And then we
could
went
link
into that.
directly to the room instead
That's
of.
what I'm wondering if that's, we can bypass.
And
Blackboard,
this is when we went into edit room.
Capacity.
And that's where we are. When we went down and we said,
Right.
we did the room attributes and allow guests.
Okay.
That's right where we are.
So I just.
Okay, you said that one goes up to 6?
Yeah, that's
On
the,
that before we leave.
good for the,
And then
for
in
the
the
users, you can put up
web-
to 6. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have 3 people in there. You can have 100 people in there, only 3 people can be using their mics at the same time. Okay, so there's no limit on how many people you can have in the room.
Okay.
Okay, so once we have changed that, let's go ahead and click save. So we have edited our room settings. And notice you should have a green bar across the top now that says it was a success. And it even shows you to, get your unregistered guest into this session. It gives you that URL. You say, that's great, do I have to copy it and save it and paste it somewhere? I mean, do I have to remember that all the time? No, you don't, and you won't. And even if you put it somewhere, we probably forget where we put it, right? So we can always get back to it. And here's how you do that. So from now on, if you were to come into this room, you would just click on, once you got here, we've got it all set up, we would click on join room. And that takes you to a separate screen, and here's your guest URL. So you can always get to it, and then here's your phone numbers. Okay?
I don't have
I don't
it.
have
I don't
URL.
have
Did in the previous screen in green box, but.
Yeah,
Right.
I did that.
Where did those
I
phone
did
numbers
that.
come from? When you click on your meeting room?
I got a, guess it's on.
It says download the Blackboard launcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Okay. I'll have to find out why it's not, because I'm just logged in with my regular account right here. I didn't log in with my admin account.
But you did have that option of allowing guests.
Yeah,
I can give the URL if I do the invite guest under the room. That's how I usually do it when I send it an email. I just go copy that whole thing.
yeah, and you can't, and that's what you can, because you can get this, if you go into an invite guest, it's right there. So there's the public URL. So let's go ahead and go into there, and I'll make a mental note of finding out why that one is there, because it might be just some option that they don't have turned on for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I think that makes sense.
So we go to invite guests now?
Yeah, we're switching it up until I
Okay.
can figure out why that's not
Wait,
there.
is this link the same as the one that we're not seeing?
Yes.
Is it okay.
Yeah, so it'll be the same. So I'm highlighting that, and then I'm going to right click on it and copy it. Okay, so that's going to allow me to copy that URL.
Okay, is this URL static or it changes?
It's static. It's gonna stay the same for that room. That's a good question.
Now, the add guests to invite, is that just internal KCTCS guests?
And that's why, no, you can send this to anybody, so you can enter in email addresses there to be outside of KCTCS, but that's also why we're using this, because we just send them the link, and we don't have to invite those specifically.
Okay.
But one of the things is, you all are gonna remember that link, right?
No.
Oh, come on! No, it's a little crazy, it's long, we don't even know, it's got the first part of it, if we can remember the elearning.kctcs.edu, but past that, we're not remembering anything, where that went. So this is where your new little friend Tiny URL is gonna come into play. And this can come into play in a lot of places in your worlds. So anytime that you have a URL that's too long for you to remember, you can give it a word or a name, a web address that makes sense, that you can get back to. So stay right where you are, but up on your browser, click the plus sign, whatever browser you're on. There should be a plus sign or a way to open a new tab. And we're gonna go over there and just go to tinyurl.com. New tricks. Okay. Did everybody find it?
No, because I got lost.
Go up
Okay.
here and type in tinyurl.com.
Oh,
Give it a
I-
new page, give it a new page.
okay.
A new tab.
There you go.
I
Perfect.
Does
thought
it
you
make me
were
work the same
saying there
way?
was a tiny URL.
Yes and no. Hold on, let me
For
put
the
it
tiny
back.
URL. Sorry.
There we go. Okay. Now, in the middle you have this box. This is what you're looking for. So right here where your cursor's flashing is where you want to paste. So you should be able to right click and paste or Control V if you're a keyboard person. It's going to put the long URL in there. Then right below that, see where it says custom alias optional? That's where you can put in something that makes sense to you.
It could be
So-
the title of your meeting.
Right, so yours might be, Jacob's Meets. So I'll put Page Meets, or it could be meetings, something that makes sense to you.
Right.
Now, this is kind of like that code. If anybody in the world has used what you're trying to use, it won't let you use it. It has to be unique. So you can put in what you want, and then if it doesn't work, you can always try something else. Okay? So actually, I don't know if I've used Page Meets before or not, so. No spaces because it's gonna be a web address, and web addresses don't have spaces. So once you get that in, so now, what it's gonna be is your web address that you're gonna be able to give people is tinyurl.com/whatever words you just put there, or words you just put there. We can remember that, right?
Yep.
Okay, maybe. Or we can still write it down, but after we say it a couple of times, then we'll remember it. So I'm going to go ahead and click Make Tiny URL. And if it doesn't give you big red words, you're good. Let's see if mine has been taken or not. So I use this for a lot of things. Very good. So it should tell you it was created. Or if you have red words, it just means that you came up with something that somebody else in the world had come up with, and you just go back, right down here, paste it back in again, try another one. Okay? So here is your URL. So you could always, copy it, you can open it in a new window, whatever. We're not quite there yet. But this is now what I can send anybody to join my meeting. So if you guys wanted to quit doing what you're doing and I said, hey, we need to have a meeting, and I wasn't here, say go to tinyurl.com/pagemeets, and you guys would end up in my room, in my Collaborate room. Okay? Pretty
Now,
cool, huh?
you may have covered this before I came in, I do apologize
No,
for
go
being
ahead.
late, but, so is the e-community area the only area where you can do this? Or
No.
can you do it in individual classes?
You can do it in individual classes. This specific session was about Collaborate for meetings, kind of outside of the classroom,
class.
which is why I did it that way. But every
Okay.
class, and when you have it in class, you can still do that, and I do, and I'll tell you why. But your students, when they get into class, they'll have access to get straight to that without going to
Right.
that. Here's why I do it, though. It's still a great idea. How many times are you or if you haven't been there yet, you will be. You'll be in one of your meetings doing it, working with your students, and all of a sudden you'll get this email, you'll get an instant message from Link or whatever, or Blackboard Collaborate, or IM if you have that, from one of your students, or an email or whatever. I can't get in. And you want them to be able to get in, but you're also in the middle of working with the rest of your students who have found it. So it's kind of like somebody coming in, halfway through class and just starting screaming, going, hey, wait for me. And you're like, well, we've already. So, but we want you, as educators, we want to get everybody on the same page and make sure that they understand and learn. So sometimes when I do that, it's much easier for me just to send them a link. Here, use this link and come right in, and then after class, I can show you where to get to that through class. So
Right.
yeah, I do that, Sherry. And Sherry also asked a question. There's several of these kind of tools out there. Bit.ly is one, goo.gl, Google has one now, there's a ton of them. The reason I use tinyURL is because I haven't found one yet that lets you put in the words that you want. Like Bitly,
That's nice, yeah.
it gives you very small one, it might just be a few characters and letters, but it's still characters and letters that don't mean anything to you. So that's why I use tinyURL, because it lets you write down, and my guess is eventually more and more of them will let you do that. But this one is free, lets me do it now, so that's the one that I kind of started with.
Now, one thing that's really nice about this is when you go in, I'm not seeing all three, I'm not seeing the room that goes with me, but my students go, I don't know which room to go into.
Right, it takes them
There's one
straight to that one place
Yeah.
that they can get to.
But I'm
Right.
being asked to download the launcher. Do we still have to do that every single time?
And, hang on a second, you're ahead of us, but, and you only have to do that once, but it's on whatever machine you're on. So on the machine that you're on, and none of these machines have gone through it.
Okay.
So, now that you're back to Blackboard, and I left the tinyURL tab up, you can close it if you want, and I just went back to the Blackboard tab to keep us right back here. And you guys are going to click on your room, so where it says join room. And then you have another link that says join room, it's not giving you your guest URL, I'll figure that one out. But you do have your phone numbers there, right? So you can send that to your students as well as they need it. They can also see it once they get inside the session itself.
Okay, where did those phone numbers come from?
No, you don't have to worry about it, it's something that we put, that Collaborate provides for us.
So, you don't, we don't need them, the people joining the meeting don't need them?
If they want to call in by phone, they will need them. If they're gonna do voice over their computer, then they don't need them.
Okay, so they dial that moderator phone and
No,
it's,
moderator is you.
okay,
Unless you want to give them full access to your session, which you don't want to do, you're not giving out the moderator, you're giving out the participant.
If they have a microphone and a video, then
they shouldn't need it.
Most of the time they won't, but think about this. Anybody have students that aren't from Louisville? That are maybe from some rural part of the state
Yeah, then they-
where bandwidth issues are a problem? They may have a problem getting your video to load and being able to hear you and talk. When we were on Wimba, I live just 30 minutes from here in Kethersville. When we were on Wimba, and we don't have the best, I have Time Warner a mile from me each way, but not where I live. The best I can get is just wireless over the cell towers. So I was having trouble during both when I was giving the sessions, because I was doing screen sharing and all that. So I would actually be on the phone and on the computer. So I'd be doing what I have to do on the computer, but all my voice, all the sound, and everything was going through the phone. So some may need that. Also, if you're doing a session or a meeting that doesn't require you to put anything on the screen, and you guys are just talking and chatting, they might want to do it from the car. Where they could have their speaker on, you know, the hands-free and all that, but they would be in the car, so they wouldn't need the other side. So at some times they will need them. Usually I may not send them out to everybody then, but if somebody asks, is there a the phone number I call in, I'll send it to them.
So they don't see this when they join the room then?
Not when they click that link. Now, they can get to it a different way, but not immediately.
And so they can use their mobile devices to, that's good.
Yes. Blackboard Collaborate does have an app for your Android, your iPhones, your iPads.
Okay.
So for all of that. And the best thing about that app, it's free. And it works very well. I use it all the time
Good.
on my machine.
Good.
So we give them participant phone and participant in. They'll need both to get in.
If you're gonna give them the phone number, yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Join Room. And when you guys first click on this, it's going to say, get the launcher, download launcher. Now this is, you only have to download it once, but it's machine specific. So for example, when you guys get back to your machines, you may have to go through this again, which is kind of why I left it up so you all can see it. But the good thing about it is it's not one that you have to call IT over to do. It's one that you can do yourself. Okay. So go ahead and click on download launcher. And it's going to download probably either down on the bottom of your toolbar or up on the top, depending on what browser you have. And once it gets done, it'll take a minute, 'cause it's 40 megs. Can you guys see it moving? Where it says it's going up to 40
Now,
megs?
mine has save file first.
Oh, you're in Chrome, aren't you? You in Chrome?
No.
No, you're Firefox. Oh, you've already got.
So cancel this.
You can just say.
It came up
Yeah.
automatically.
And then, yeah, once that, then you can say that, then click OK.
Oh, now it says save file or open it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then it goes and gets the collab. And it's saying, how do you want to open this file? Which probably means that yours didn't finish downloading all the way. Because it should come up with this, when it says open with, and then Blackboard Collaborate launcher.
Yeah, the,
Yes, okay, you're good.
Yeah, that still says save file.
You open it? No, you don't. Probably where you would ask you.
When you download it, you can open it up. Well, even if you do that.
Either that or it didn't.
This is.
And go to the folder where collab is. You go ahead and double click that now and see if it'll run.
So don't send it to me.
Okay.
It won't pop up and say finish.
And but it looks like it didn't run that.
And install it.
There it goes.
There it goes.
There it goes, that's what it was. Did everybody get that? Did you guys get that?
What are we doing now?
I think I installed it.
Okay, go ahead and click the join. Okay, so it's saying pick an app, click the drop down list. Yeah, it's not coming up, but go ahead and cancel that real quick.
That's cool.
Yeah. Click that here.
This thing.
Yeah, come to that one, there you go.
I already did that.
Now it's,
Oh, this looks different than everything.
yeah, now it's going, just click.
Students are having trouble with too, is
Uh-oh.
downloading.
This is
The launcher.
saying I've got it.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen this, I did see where the IT thing came up where it wants you to log in, just cancel it.
It's doing the same thing.
I'm gonna go through, cancel. And you're loading.
Okay.
I don't know why mine's doing different.
Once you install it,
I had one student that got in.
And we're
Blackboard
Blackboard
Collaborate.
Collaborate.
and once you do that once on your machine,
Blackboard problem, lady was really good, yours like that. But at 60.
oh, there it goes.
I just wanted more.
Once you get through all of this, once on your machine, you won't have to do this again. And out on, I believe the e-resources tab is a page that you can print off if you need to on the directions to go through that. So they've got that out there.
Getting the launcher downloaded?
Right, on the
Okay.
e-resources tab.
Okay.
It's telling me that I'm an unknown user and it won't come out.
Oh, me too. It does not know me. It hurt. But it's me.
Now, did you all go through your link? Or are you going through the link that we created, or are you going through Blackboard?
I went through Blackboard.
Okay, that's where you should be going through. See, and it doesn't have you in here, so you should be listed in here. So if you're not listed, then go ahead and click. I don't know what's going on with those. Or if they have these machines locked down more than
They do.
our machines.
So people launch it. They're just trying to.
And just try to click on the room again. It already says that, so that should be good. And I tested on that machine up there, so it let me in
Yeah,
this
but
morning.
that's the instructor computer,
So
so
they've got-
it's got privileges that these computers don't.
And then I thought, oh, because when I got to where you are, I canceled it and it let me through. So I didn't even think at that point that these machines would be different. I was forgetting about these machines.
Now,
Cancel.
if
Because
you were
if you allow access, it allows for your IT to come in. So I just canceled that, but it still was going
You
through.
do private messages.
Still coming up.
It allows you to view
And then
messages.
okay.
Like, there's a chat option over here, and students can message.
When you get to that point, that's where it's,
View the messages.
yeah, that's where it's telling you guys that you can't. Okay, so,
is there any way possible for us to get your link to come in
to see
to
it,
your room as a,
give that a try. Give that a try for me. Go to a different route and do
Your tiny
like
URL.
tinyurl.com/page meets.
Nah, it's still asking for the launcher.
Still. Okay, so I'll need to let Patty know, to let Thomas know that these machines, the students are gonna use it for Collaborate, needs to be updated for
Right.
that.
This is the same problem that my students had when I was trying to do virtual office hours. They could not get it to launch.
Now, on their own machines, they shouldn't have that trouble. And I had people test it outside when I wasn't with them, and they told me that it worked.
Now, I was not doing a tiny URL. They were going to Blackboard.
I mean, either way, if they're on their own machines, they shouldn't have that trouble. And in the past, they did because of Java, and they may have had the wrong Java version. But that's what this new, oh, now it's not letting me in. It let me in earlier.
Did you use a different browser?
Page-
Because I tried it using a different browser window, like Chrome, and then that didn't have my Blackboard login credentials on it. But then when I went back to Firefox, that I was logged into Blackboard with, it went through. So I'm actually in your room now.
See, I knew that it worked earlier because I went through all this just to make sure.
What'd you call yours, pages, tiny URL
Just
pages?
tinyurl.com/page meets.
Oh, page means that's what.
Yeah, and I'm the only one in there, it looks like, in Paige's meeting room. You gotta do it with the same window that you're logged into Blackboard with. Or the same browser, sorry.
Let me in yours.
Still not letting me in.
It's not letting you in?
Not letting me in.
Says you're already in the conference.
I see Vicky Harden,
Yeah, I'm there.
yeah, but it's not letting you in. That's bizarre.
See, it let me in my playground room, my other one, my old room.
With different browns.
I see Orlando.
And
Mhm.
with Chrome.
Well, at least we know it sort of kind of works. For the participants, anyway.
See, and even in Chrome, it should automatically come up. I shouldn't have to click this.
Because you were already logged into Blackboard with Chrome, is that why?
Well, it's just, it should just automatically start running it. There we go.
There we go.
So apparently if it wouldn't let you in, go out of it, let it think for a minute and come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you all can't do anything in mine, because when we first come in, all the tools are turned off. So as the instructor, the moderator, I can go in and I can open those things up. So I can turn on your talk, your video cam, your chat, then I can turn on your whiteboard if I need, and any of those other things.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So once you are in here, and this at least allows you guys to see if you're on this side of it, kind of what side is working. Is yours letting?
Yeah, she just came across your screen, Trace Dixon at the bottom.
Awesome.
Oh, now it says connection failed.
Oh,
Never mind.
It thinks that you're still here.
Well, that's all that matters.
It thinks that you're still there.
Do you know what it did to me? I'm in my own.
Awesome.
You.
I went all the way out, and I went to Chrome, because I was in Firefox. I went to Chrome, and I just went through the tiny URL.
And that let you in yours?
/ the name of mine, and it opened up.
Okay, then you're in yours, but you're not in, you're in as a participant. So
Okay.
when you actually were doing your meeting, you would want to go in through Blackboard so that you're the moderator, so that you have all of your options.
Okay.
Now, there is a way to turn your meeting in those settings to bring everyone in as a moderator. So if you are And I do that sometimes for student class. Some of my students ask me, hey, can you create one of those rooms for us to go do our meetings in? Sure. So I did not put everybody as moderator, so no matter how they come in, they can upload slides, share their screen with their other folks. Or if I'm doing a meeting with several folks and everybody might have something to share and put on the screen, I'll do that where everybody can come in. Or sometimes if they're using my room, but I may not be there for some meetings, I'll set that one up as everybody that comes in as a moderator so that everybody can do everything once they come in. So you can do that in those options. Okay, so let's see how this works. I mean, and that's the basis of, you've created your room. You've got your meeting space, you're ready to go. And the other thing is, okay, Paige, now how do I work Collaborate to be able to pull this off, right? And the way, and I'll tell you guys, the way that I learned playing with this, I had my husband in the bedroom, logged in, my daughter upstairs, and I was at the kitchen table. What do you see now?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Say something. You know, so I'm trying to hear, so I'm playing back and forth with them. So that's a really good way to do it. Or if you don't have anyone at home to play with you, but you've got a phone, go download the app, it's free. Log in on your app as your test student. Remember, you put your test student in your course or send that link to yourself. Log in as somebody else from that side. And then you can be schizophrenic for a few minutes and, you know, be both sides of and play with that. Okay, but you do have your recording reminder here. So you can record any session that you want to.
Where is that button?
When you're in as the moderator, it just automatically pops up right there. And you can close that, but then you've got a record button at the very top, so you can always get to it if you close it.
How do you know if it's recording? Just to be sure that it's actually.
So
Okay.
it'll have that, and look down in, oh, it didn't say it. It doesn't put it on the chat, but if you had our sound turned on, it said, recording is now in progress.
Okay.
And you've got your little red button up there. And then if you click it again, your little red button is off.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, oh, there it was. I heard somebody's recording stopped.
Was there through them?
Oh, it was mine up through there? Okay. But it does, so it tells them too, it says it on the other side as well, so that they know. And if they come in afterwards, it lets them know that it's recording too. So if for whatever reason they don't want to be recorded, they can jump out of it. You've got this, and now you could, here's your whiteboard, you can use your tools to draw on it. You may have PowerPoint slides that you want to pull in. Maybe that's going to be your presentation, or students are going to do that, or however. And you can put those in by load content. Okay? So that's in the upper right-hand corner. And let me go ahead. I'm going to make all of you guys moderators so you can see all of these things on your screen too.
Oh, so you have to do each individual?
Start recording.
Mhm.
You just hit go to a new one. I'm going to start the tiny URL.
Okay, so I gave all of you guys moderators. So your old screen should look like mine now.
So leave
So-
my room.
So when you were in your room, this is what it would look like. Now, when I'm gonna load content, there's not a whole lot that it'll let me load. PowerPoint is pretty much what I can load. And PowerPoint cannot be open when you're trying to load it into Collaborate. So if PowerPoint is open, it'll give you an error and tell you to close PowerPoint. I'm just gonna go to my desktop. I went and downloaded a PowerPoint. It was on one I did on Meet the Grade Center. But it will go through that little process. It opens that PowerPoint. It makes all my slides blank. Don't worry, it's not doing anything to them. Okay, it's just taking pictures of them. Your file itself is okay. So now when I get back to Collaborate, there's my slides. It gives me my page explorer. I can use this to go to my different slides, to go back. I can put the drop-down list. Other things that I can do here. I've got the follow check mark on. That means that when I move slides, my participants are going to move with me. If I turn that off, then they can look through the slides as they want it. So they can forward and back up as they want it. So generally we want that checked because usually we want them to follow us. This one, the little back and forth button, this is the explore mode. Look what that says. Use explore mode to explore other slides while leaving participants or others on the current page. So if I click this, I can go look at this slide while their screen doesn't change.
How did you get that box to show up? I'm sorry.
When I uploaded my PowerPoint, it automatically came up.
Okay, so low content.
But what I can do, see if I close this, then it shows it up here, it turns it into this bar. So this might be what you're seeing, this extra bar.
Okay.
And so then you can click this little drop down list on that far right hand side and show page explorer, and it'll bring that box back. So it just depends on if you like the box or not. And my own personal preference on when I like the box, I like the box if I have multiple, if I'm using dual monitors, because I can drag the box over to the screen that I'm not seeing, so it's not on top of what I'm doing. If I'm using one monitor, I usually leave it up there at the top so that it's not on top of what I'm doing. So it kind of depends on, so if you're at home or in your office and you have multiple devices, you can actually drag your windows from one to the other. So you can use one for what you're doing and one for what you're controlling.
I have a
Make me
question.
moderator so I can.
Are you there? Yeah, I sure will. Here you go.
Sorry.
No problem, didn't see you. Oh, no. Just say I tried to kick her out.
I
There we go.
understand why.
No, just hit the wrong button. Just hit the wrong button.
I have a question for
Uh-huh.
you. Okay, so we don't actually, as a faculty member, we don't have to actually be in the meeting room with the students. We can put the PowerPoint in there or the lesson in there and let them,
Yes and no.
okay.
You can have the room, but the way that this works, every time they come into the room, it's going to be blank. Now, what you can do is if you can go in as yourself, like when you're setting up the room,
Mhm.
put your slides in, and then you could do File, Save, Whiteboard. Once you save those whiteboard files, then over on the other side in Blackboard, you could say automatically load in these whiteboard slides. You can't tell it to automatically load in a PowerPoint, but you can convert your PowerPoint to a whiteboard slide and then tell it to automatically load those. And if you want to do that, either check on YouTube or shoot me an email and I'll find a link on where that is or send you screenshots
Okay.
if needed on that. So you can get to all of those tools. Okay. When you've got your audio video here, the top three, and let me actually go back to some of those slides. Because usually what I do is I start with these slides. And I've got these few slides, and if you guys want them, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send them to you. So this is when folks first come in. This is what they should do to make sure that they can hear you. So see on their audio window, so that icon is right up there. They would click that and they would go through the wizard. And that would run them through the wizard, make sure that they can hear you, and if they've got a mic, that they can be heard. So, I tell them what to do. And then click and release to turn the mic or the video on. So I kind of have these intro slides as to how to use it. My next slide shows the participant window and how they can use the participant window. So it's going to show them all of their icons, their tools. Emoticons is the first one. Away is the one with the little clock on it. If they want to raise their hand. If you're going to do a survey, they can do that, and I'll show you guys those, hopefully. I have about 5 minutes left. And then there's all the participants in your session, and then there's your chat area. So they just type inside this area, hit the enter key, and it shows up here. And then you have emoticons as well that they can use. So if we had a poll, I don't think I have a poll question, there's all the different whiteboard tools. So like I said, if you guys want that part of the slides, let me know. And a lot of times, this was a national presentation that I did, but I'll put the state of Kentucky up because I'll ask them, where are you? I try to make my Collaborate sessions very interactive. If you're online with somebody live, it is so easy to multitask and to just go to your email instead. But if you want to keep people engaged, you have to get them doing something every 5 to 10 minutes. I was going to say 3 to 5 minutes, and that's actually better, but sometimes but you want to ask them a question. You want to make them click on the screen, do something to make sure that they're still with you. So, I would do this and have them, like they would come in and click like the smiley face or something. Then they would just click where they
Do
were.
they have to be listed as a moderator to do that?
No,
Or
no,
as a
no.
student, they can-
No.
right, so they can.
Yeah, and what I did is I turned on the whiteboard tools so that they had access to the whiteboard tools to be able to
And you
get
do
that.
that.
This little icon right here that had the X on it.
Oh, okay, so you turn that on and.
Yeah, I just turned that on,
Okay.
and that would allow them, that would give them those little tools down the side,
Okay.
so they could use that. But let's say we had a poll, and to use the poll, so you ask them a question, and you've got yes, no, ABC, ABCD. I don't think it goes to E, I think those are the ones you have. But what they would do, is they would come over, and Vicky's got it, so they would come over to the poll, and now they can just click yes or no. You all can do that, so you can see, you'll have a check by your name or an X. You can put an X, even if you do use it, you can use the other one just to see how it goes. And somebody else do that, somebody put one back on. Now, so now that they're back on, notice as the moderator, so you all see this too, I've got a clear button, so I can easily clear everybody's all at once if somebody forgets to turn theirs off. But maybe you had, and I don't know if I have a poll that has, here we go. So the very next slide is an ABC. And you go, well, that doesn't match, I've got yes and no. As the moderator, you go into your tools, down to polling type, and you can change it really quick. And it does go to E, so you've got 3 sections. So I can do my ABC. So now when they go in there, they've got their ABCs. So you can choose one of those. And even with that itself, under the polling, I can also publish my responses to the whiteboard. So if I wanted to show the class where everybody was on that, I can do that as well. So if I publish the responses to the whiteboard, it's just going to come in like this on the whiteboard. I can even drag it, make it bigger if I want. They need to see it. So there is a lot that you can do in here. And we haven't actually been talking, so you would want to click the button. I don't have a microphone in here, so it won't let me click the button. But you would just click and release the button. It's not like Wimba, where you had to click and hold it. You just click it, release it, and then click it, release it to turn it off. It's like Illuminate was, so you should be familiar with that one. Let's see. Okay, I think I have time to show you one more thing. But like I said, on the basics in here, the top video record, we saw those, we saw how to do our slides and the whiteboard, and then we've got the basic tools, which are the polls and the options over there. It can do much more. You can send files out to folks through this, and I love that. So when they come in, if you had a handout to give them, instead of saying, oh, did you download this from Blackboard? You can just send it to them right through here. Little screen pops up and says, Orlando's trying to share a file with you. Would you like to download it now? They can download it. So there's a lot you can do. And if you go to YouTube and search for Blackboard Collaborate, there are a ton of videos there to help you out. And James probably has some over on our resources side as well.
Okay.
But the other thing that I want to show you is how to share your screen. Because sometimes that's what you need to do in a meeting, is you need to share your screen so that they can see what you're looking at. If we had a PowerPoint, we know how to do that, but what if you had an Excel file that they needed to look at, or you were collaborating on a Word doc, something like that. And I want to show you this part because it's very easy to do, but you can very easily get lost to undo it, to get back to where you were. So if I'm going to share my screen with you guys, up here on the top, I'm using the whiteboard right now. I've got 2 other options. I've got application sharing and web tour. The application sharing is what I'm going to do because I'm sharing part of my screen or some application that I'm using. Web tour, you put in a web address and they can go to the web address, but it gets them. Who clicked the button?
I'm guilty.
I'm just going to take it back. I'm just going to put it back in.
I didn't do anything, what's my name?
It's because you were doing the mic, so if you turn talk off.
Yeah, that's just the last person that was talking
Yeah.
or video. That's all that was.
Last one, okay.
It was you, Debbie.
I didn't do it.
Okay, but watch it when I go to share my screen. It wants to know what I want to share. A lot of times I'll share my whole desktop because I'm not just going to be doing one particular thing. If I was just going to be showing something in Firefox or Blackboard or whatever, I would do that. But since you never know what you're going to do, and if you're not sharing the whole thing and students start saying, all I see is a gray square, this is what's going on, is you haven't shared what you're actually trying to show them, which is why I do share desktop, I don't have to worry about it. So I do that and I do share. And it says I'm sharing and I say, okay, oh my gosh, where did everything go? Right? So this is also when I like to have dual monitors, because then I drag this. The students don't need to see that twice because they already see it on their screen. And now they're seeing that plus what's on my screen. So when I have dual monitors, I drag this over to that other one. When I have single monitors, this little tiny yellow box that's around everything. Can you guys see that? It's just barely around this. This is what they're seeing. So I come in and I drag this past that. And then I fit my windows to fit inside this that I'm using. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now they're not seeing this little portion of my screen. Okay, does that make sense? And what happens is now I am done sharing my screen and I want to get back to Collaborate. So I have to turn the sharing off. How I do this is through this with this yellow box. If your yellow box disappears, just minimize your programs until you see it. It's back there somewhere. Okay, and I've had that happen where it disappeared. But on the top, somewhere on one side or the other of your yellow box is going to be stop, pause, and take a screenshot. So I'm just going to stop this. That's going to bring me right back into Collaborate. I click my whiteboard button, and now I'm back to where I know where I am. That's one of the hardest things and that's what also is very hard to do in an online session, teaching Collaborate. Because once I share my screen, you don't see what I'm seeing anymore. So that was very hard. So I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that with the yellow box, because that's the one thing I've had people do. I can't get back there, which is also another reason why it's good to have multiple monitors. Because the second moderator can always, because they didn't share their screen, they can still see the buttons at the top, so they can easily click you back on the whiteboard to get you back over if you've lost yourself. If you can't find it, that's an easy way to get back there. So, yeah, somebody else shared their screen.
It's me.
All right, anything fun going on?
I know, that's just
Any more updates on the Louisville purge? What the heck is that all about? Is it not? I'm like, okay, honey, I'll be home, I'll be back in Taylorsville, but this is over as soon as it's over. Yeah, so Sherry, since you did that and you closed it, go ahead and click back on the whiteboard screen to get you back there. Perfect. So that's how you would do that. You guys, so within an hour, that quickly gets you to where you can create a room inside a community, and you can edit the room settings to get guests in. You can launch the room. We went to tinyURL and we learned that, which might be other tricks for us that we can use later on. So we can give it to folks. And then we learned just the basics about Collaborate to get you started. And your students will love this. Like I said, I did a session with my students, and then they had a group project, and they said, can you give us one of those rooms? I was so excited, because I didn't say I'm going to give you one. Can I give you one of those rooms? So I gave them a room. I sent them just some help documents from Blackboard Collaborate site. They went through them, and they ran with it. They were like, oh, we love that. That's just great. Okay, welcome. Did you have a question?
No, I was gonna have students live tweet to class this semester, I'm signing that.
Yes.
But, I mean, I could even use this, and we could use the chat,
Yes.
if I'm using a PowerPoint or something.
And you can record this, and you can also record this without your students being there.